Captain Kim Tae-ho sat in his command chair on the bridge of the UES Indomitable, watching the stars drift slowly past the main screen. The massive Dreadnought moved through space like a sleeping giant, its dark hull gleaming under the distant light of nearby suns. This was supposed to be a quiet patrol mission along the edge of human space, nothing more than a routine check of the outer systems. The bridge was calm and peaceful. Lieutenant Park So-min worked quietly at her station, monitoring long range sensors for any unusual activity. The tactical displays showed nothing but empty space and the occasional merchant ship moving between the colonies. Captain Kim had served on many ships during his 20 years in the Earth Defense Force, but the Indomitable was special. She was the newest and most powerful ship in the human fleet, armed with weapons that could crack planets and shields that could stop almost anything. Kim looked around at his crew. These were some of the best officers in the fleet. Navigator Song Hae-jin plotted their course with perfect precision. Communications Officer Kong Woo-jin kept them connected to Earth. Command and the other human worlds. Weapons Chief Yoon Da-eun maintained their incredible arsenal with expert care. Chief Engineer Choi Min-ho kept their advanced systems running perfectly, and Marine Commander Han Ji-woo led the finest soldiers in human space. The captain was proud of his crew, but he hoped they would never have to prove themselves in real combat. The galaxy had been mostly peaceful for the past few years. The various alien races traded with each other and solved their problems through diplomacy. Humans had earned respect as peacekeepers, but they had not fought a real war in over a decade. Suddenly, Lieutenant Park straightened in her chair. Her fingers moved quickly across her control panel as she studied the sensor readings. "Captain," she said, her voice tight with concern, "I'm picking up a distress signal. It's coming from the Zorathian system." Kim leaned forward. The Zorathians were known throughout the galaxy as peaceful healers and philosophers. They had developed incredible medical technology that had saved millions of lives across dozens of worlds. Their beautiful crystal cities were famous for their art and learning. They had never hurt anyone in their entire history as a spacefaring race. "Put it through," Kim ordered. The main screen flickered and showed a Zorathian face. The alien looked terrified. His large, gentle eyes were wide with fear, and his normally calm voice shook with panic. "This is Admiral Lee Dong-wook of the Zorathian Defense Coordination Center. We are under attack by the Vraxx invasion fleet. They have over 200 ships. Our cities are burning. They are killing everyone they find and taking the survivors. For food." The bridge fell silent. Everyone knew about the Vraxx. They were one of the most feared races in the galaxy. They consumed other intelligent species and grew stronger by absorbing their knowledge and abilities. Entire civilizations had vanished after contact with the Vraxx swarms. Most races fled when they detected Vraxx ships in their territory. The Zorathian continued speaking, his voice breaking with emotion. "We have no military ships. We are a peaceful people. We have never built weapons of war. Our defense ships are just converted research vessels with mining lasers. They cannot stop the Vraxx fleet. Please, if there is anyone who can hear this, message, help us. The Vraxx are destroying everything. They will kill us all unless someone stops them." Captain Kim felt his jaw tighten with anger. The Zorathians had helped humans many times. When a plague had nearly destroyed the colony on New Sol, Zorathian doctors had worked day and night to find a cure. When human explorers were lost in the Void Nebula, Zorathian search ships had risked their lives to rescue them. Now these gentle people needed help, and the Vraxx were slaughtering them like animals. "Navigation, how far are we from the Zorathian system?" Kim asked. Song Hae-jin checked her charts quickly. 18 hours at maximum jump speed, Captain." "Communications. Contact Earth Command. Tell them about the Zorathian distress call and request immediate support." Kang Woo-jin worked at his station for several minutes before shaking his head. "Captain, Earth Command says the nearest fleet is 4 days away. They're ordering us to maintain position and wait for reinforcements." Kim stood up from his command chair and walked to the front of the bridge. He stared at the main screen, which still showed the desperate face of the Zorathian admiral. The alien was still broadcasting his plea for help to anyone who might be listening. 4 days was too long. The Vraxx would have consumed every living Zorathian by then. The beautiful crystal cities would be empty ruins. An entire civilization would be wiped out while the human fleet slowly assembled for a rescue mission that would arrive too late to save anyone. The captain turned to face his crew. He could see the same anger and determination in their eyes that he felt in his heart. These were good people who had joined the Earth Defense Force to protect the innocent. They had not signed up to watch helpless aliens die while they followed safe orders and waited for backup. "Chief Engineer, what's the status of our experimental weapons?" Kim asked. Choi Minho looked up from his engineering station. "All systems are online, Captain. The new plasma cannons are operating at full power. The quantum torpedoes are loaded and ready. The shield generators are running at maximum efficiency. Marine Commander, how are your troops?" Han Ji-woo stood at attention. "Ready for anything, Captain. My soldiers are the best trained in the fleet. We can handle boarding actions, ground, combat, or ship security." Kim nodded and looked around the bridge one more time. His crew was ready. His ship was the most powerful vessel humans had ever built. But they were still just one ship against an entire Vraxx invasion fleet. The odds were terrible. They would probably all die, but that had never stopped humans before. "Helm, set course for the Zorathian system. Maximum jump speed." "Captain," Park So-min said quietly, "Earth Command ordered us to wait for support." Kim looked at the tactical display showing the location of the Zorathian system. Somewhere in that distant star system, innocent people were dying while monsters destroyed everything they had built over thousands of years. "Sometimes," the captain said, "following orders means letting evil win. I did not become a soldier to watch good people die when I have the power to save them." He sat back down in his command chair and pressed the ship-wide communication button. "Attention crew of the Indomitable. We have received a distress call from the Zorathian system. They are under attack by a Vraxx invasion fleet. Earth Command has ordered us to wait for reinforcements, but the Zorathians will all be dead before help arrives. I am making the decision to jump to their system immediately and engage the Vraxx fleet." The captain paused, knowing that his next words would change everything for his crew. "This will be dangerous. We are one ship against hundreds. Some of us may not come home. But the Zorathians are our friends and our allies. They have helped humanity many times. Now they need our help. I will not abandon them to the Vraxx." The bridge was quiet for a moment. Then Weapons Chief Yoon spoke up. "Captain, my weapons are ready to send the Vraxx straight to hell." One by one, each officer confirmed they were ready to fight. Kim smiled grimly. This was why he was proud to serve with these people. When innocent lives were at stake, humans always chose to fight no matter what the odds. "Jump us out, Navigator. Let's go save some friends." The Indomitable vanished into hyperspace, racing toward what might be the last battle any of them would ever fight. The Indomitable raced through hyperspace toward the Zorathian system. Captain Kim stood on the bridge watching the swirling colors of faster-than-light travel flow across the main screen. 18 hours seemed like forever when he knew that people were dying with each passing moment. "Captain," Communications Officer Kong Woo-jin said from his station, "Earth Command is trying to contact us. They're ordering us to return immediately." Kim looked at the flashing communication light but did not answer. He had made his choice. Once they dropped out of hyperspace in the Zorathian system, there would be no going back. Earth Command would have to court-martial him later if he survived long enough. "Ignore all communications from Earth Command," the captain ordered. "We have more important things to worry about right now." Throughout the ship, the crew prepared for battle. In the engineering section, Chief Engineer Choi Minho worked with his team to push their experimental weapons beyond their tested limits. The new plasma cannons had only been fired in training exercises. The quantum torpedoes were so powerful that Earth scientists were still not sure what would happen if they used too many at once. "Sir," one of the junior engineers said nervously, "the weapon systems were never designed to fire at full power for extended periods. If we push them too hard, they might overload." Choi looked at the young man seriously. "Then we better make every shot count. The Zorathians don't get a second chance if our weapons fail." Down in the Marine Bay, Commander Han Ji-woo addressed his soldiers. 200 of the finest fighters in human space stood at attention in their combat armor. These men and women had trained for years to become the elite troops of the Earth Defense Force. "Listen up," Han said, his voice carrying clearly through the bay. "We're going to fight the Vraxx. Most of you have never seen them in combat, but I have. They're fast, they're strong, and they don't feel pain or fear like we do. But they have one weakness. They think they're better than everyone else. They think no one can stand against them. Han paused and looked at each of his soldiers. Today we're going to teach them that they're wrong. Today we show them what happens when they mess with our friends. The Marines cheered and began checking their weapons and equipment. They had trained for boarding actions against enemy ships. If the Indomitable could disable Vraxx vessels, Han's soldiers would go aboard and rescue any Zorathian prisoners they could find. On the bridge, navigator Song Hee-jin calculated their approach to the Zorathian system. She had to plan their entry carefully. If they dropped out of hyperspace too close to the Vraxx fleet, they would be surrounded and destroyed before they could fight back. If they came in too far away, the Vraxx might escape or finish killing the Zorathians before the Indomitable could reach them. "Captain," she said, "I recommend we exit hyperspace at the edge of the system. That will give us time to assess the situation before we engage." Weapons, Chief Yoon Da-eun worked at her station, programming targeting solutions for different battle scenarios. The Indomitable carried enough firepower to destroy a small moon, but she had to use it wisely. They would face hundreds of enemy ships with only one chance to make each shot count. "Sir," she reported to the captain, "all weapon systems are ready. I've loaded our most powerful quantum torpedoes and charged the plasma cannons to maximum power. Our shields are at full strength." Dr. Nam Soo-jin, the ship's science officer, worked with the advanced computer systems that controlled the ship's artificial intelligence. The AI could process battle information faster than any human and suggest tactical moves that might save their lives. "The computer is running battle simulations," she told the captain. "So far, it has calculated over 3,000 different scenarios. In most of them, we don't survive." Kim nodded grimly. He had not expected this to be easy. But humans had won impossible battles before by refusing to give up when the odds looked hopeless. The hours passed slowly as they traveled through hyperspace. The crew used the time to prepare themselves mentally for what they were about to face. Many of them had never been in real combat before. Training exercises were different from actual life-and-death battles where one mistake could mean the end of everything. Kim walked through the ship, talking to his people and making sure they were ready. In the medical bay, the doctors prepared for casualties. In the fighter bay, pilots checked their small attack ships, even though they probably would not have time to launch them. In the mess hall, the cooks prepared what might be the crew's last meal. Everyone knew this was dangerous. The Vraxx had destroyed entire fleets before. They were experienced fighters who had conquered dozens of worlds. The Indomitable was just one ship, no matter how advanced it was. But as Kim talked to his crew, he saw something in their eyes that gave him hope. These people were not afraid to die for what was right. They had joined the Earth Defense Force because they believed in protecting innocent people from those who would hurt them. The Zorathians were their friends and allies. That was all that mattered. "Captain," Lieutenant Park So-min called from her sensor station. "We're approaching the Zorathian system, dropping out of hyperspace in 30 seconds. Kim returned to his command chair and fastened his safety harness. Around the bridge, his officers did the same. This was the moment of truth. In a few seconds, they would see exactly what they were facing. "All hands prepare for combat," the captain announced over the ship-wide communication system. "We are about to exit hyperspace in the Zorathian system. Stand ready." The swirling colors of hyperspace began to fade from the main screen. Stars appeared as tiny points of light. Kim could see the yellow sun of the Zorathian system growing brighter as they approached. "Sensors online," Park reported. "Scanning for Vraxx ships." The main screen shifted to show a tactical display of the star system. Kim felt his heart sink as he saw what they were facing. The sensor readings showed over 200 Vraxx ships scattered throughout the system. Some were in orbit around the Zorathian homeworld, bombarding the surface. Others were hunting down fleeing civilian ships. A few were already moving toward the Indomitable. "Dear God," whispered Navigator Song, "look at their homeworld." The main screen zoomed in on the beautiful blue and green planet where the Zorathians lived. The surface was covered with fires. The elegant crystal cities that had taken thousands of years to build were being destroyed by Vraxx bombardment. Streams of refugees fled in small ships that had never been designed for war. Communications. "Try to contact any surviving Zorathian forces," Kim ordered. After a few minutes, a weak signal came through. It was Admiral Lee Dong-wook again, but his voice was much weaker than before. "Human ship, is that you? Thank the stars you came. But you are only one ship. The Vraxx have us surrounded. Our defense ships are all destroyed. Most of our cities are gone." Kim looked at his crew. They all stared back at him, waiting for orders. One ship against 200. It should have been hopeless. But Captain Kim smiled grimly and turned to his weapons officer. "Yoon, target the nearest Vraxx squadron. Let's announce our arrival properly." The Indomitable charged forward into battle, alone but determined to save their friends or die trying. The Indomitable moved through the outer edge of the Zorathian system like a predator stalking its prey. Captain Kim watched the tactical display as it updated with more and more enemy contacts. The Vraxx fleet was massive, spread across the entire star system like a dark cloud of death. "Captain," Lieutenant Park So-min reported from her sensor station, "I'm counting 215 Vraxx ships. Most of them are concentrated around the Zorathian homeworld. They're bombarding the surface from orbit." The main screen showed the beautiful planet that had once been the jewel of this system. The crystal cities of the Zorathians glowed like gems across the continents, but now many of those lights were going dark. Fires burned where Vraxx energy weapons had struck. The elegant spires that had taken centuries to grow were crumbling into dust. "Look at those monsters," Weapons Chief Yoon Da-eun said with anger in her voice. "They're not just conquering the planet. They're destroying everything beautiful about it." Kim could see civilian ships fleeing from the planet's surface. Small transports and medical vessels that had never been designed for combat were trying to escape the slaughter. But Vraxx fighters hunted them down like wolves chasing sheep. One by one, the refugee ships were being destroyed or captured. Communications. "Patch me through to Admiral Lee Dong-wook," the captain ordered. Kang Woo-jin worked at his station for a moment before shaking his head. "Captain, the Zorathian command center has been destroyed. I'm picking up scattered transmissions from surviving defense ships, but they're barely holding together." On the tactical display, Kim could see the remaining Zorathian vessels. There were maybe 20 ships left, and they were all damaged. They had been converted from research and medical ships, armed with mining lasers and construction tools. Against the Vraxx war fleet, they were helpless. "Sir," Navigator Song Hae-jin said quietly, "the nearest Vraxx squadron is moving to intercept us. 6 ships, coming in fast." Kim looked at the approaching enemy vessels on the screen. Each Vraxx ship was about half the size of the Indomitable, but their dark hulls bristled with weapons. They moved with the confidence of predators who had never met anything they couldn't kill. The lead Vraxx ship opened a communication channel. The face that appeared on the screen was nightmare made real. The Vraxx commander had gray skin stretched, tight over a skull-like face. His eyes were black pits that seemed to absorb light. When he smiled, rows of sharp teeth showed in his wide mouth. "Unknown vessel," the Vraxx commander said in a voice like grinding metal. "You have entered a Vraxx hunting ground. Surrender immediately, and we will make your death quick. Resist, and we will take you apart slowly and feast on your screaming crew." Captain Kim stood up from his command chair and faced the screen. His voice was calm and steady when he replied. "This is Captain Kim Tae-ho of the United Earthship Indomitable. You are attacking innocent people. Withdraw immediately or face the consequences." The Vraxx commander laughed, a sound like breaking glass. "One ship against our entire fleet? You humans are either very brave or very stupid. No matter, your bones will taste the same either way." The communication ended and the Vraxx squadron began its attack run. "All hands, battle stations," Kim announced throughout the ship. "This is not a drill. We are engaging the enemy." Red lights flashed across the bridge as the crew prepared for combat. Weapons Chief Yoon powered up the plasma cannons and armed the quantum torpedoes. Chief Engineer Choi diverted maximum power to the shields and weapons. Marine Commander Han prepared his troops for possible boarding actions. "Vraxx ships are closing fast," Park reported. "They're spreading out to surround us." Kim studied the tactical display. The 6 Vraxx ships were moving in a classic attack pattern, trying to hit the Indomitable from all sides at once. It was a good strategy against most opponents, but they had never faced a human dreadnought before. "Navigator, bring us about. Give Yoon a clear shot at their lead ship." Song's fingers danced across her controls, and the massive dreadnought turned with surprising grace. The Indomitable might be huge, but her designers had built her to move like a dancer when necessary. "I have a firing solution," Yoon reported. "Fire," Kim ordered. The new plasma cannons unleashed their fury. Beams of superheated energy crossed space in milliseconds, striking the lead Vraxx ship before it could react. The enemy vessel's shields flared and failed under the incredible assault. The plasma beams punched through the hull like it was paper, and the ship exploded in a ball of fire. The bridge crew watched in amazement as debris scattered across space, where the Vraxx ship had been just seconds before. "One shot, one kill," Yoon said with satisfaction, but there was no time to celebrate. The remaining 5 Vraxx ships opened fire with everything they had. Energy beams and missile salvos hammered against the Indomitable's shields. The bridge shook under the impact. "Shields holding at 80%, Chief Engineer Choi reported over the communication system. "Return fire," Kim ordered. "Target the closest ships." The Indomitable unleashed its full arsenal. Plasma cannons fired in rapid sequence, while quantum torpedoes streaked toward their targets. The space around them lit up like a deadly fireworks. Display. Another Vraxx ship disappeared in a flash of light as a quantum torpedo found its mark. The remaining enemy vessels tried to scatter, but Navigator Song kept them in the weapon's firing arcs with expert maneuvering. "Captain," Lieutenant Park called out, "I'm detecting more Vraxx ships moving toward us. Looks like we got their attention." Kim looked at the tactical display and saw 20 more enemy vessels approaching from different directions. The Vraxx had realized that this single human ship was more dangerous than they had expected. But in the distance, he could also see something else. Some of the fleeing Zorathian civilian ships had stopped running and were turning back. They had seen the human Dreadnought fighting against impossible odds, and it had given them hope. "Sir," Communications Officer Kang reported, "I'm receiving a transmission from a Zorathian transport ship. They're asking if they can help with the evacuation." Kim smiled grimly. The Zorathians were brave people, even if they were not warriors. They were willing to risk their lives to save their own people, just as the humans were willing to risk everything to save them. "Tell them to coordinate with any surviving defense ships. Get those civilian transports loaded and away from the planet." The Indomitable finished off the last 3 ships of the first Vraxx squadron just as the second wave arrived. But now the enemy was taking them seriously. Instead of 6 ships, 20 Vraxx vessels attacked in coordinated formation. "Here they come," Yoon announced as she targeted the new threats. The space around them erupted in weapons fire as the real battle began. The human Dreadnought stood alone against the Vraxx swarm, but Captain Kim had faith in his ship and his crew. They had come here to save the Zorathians, and that was exactly what they were going to do. The Indomitable charged forward into the heart of the enemy formation, guns blazing. The galaxy was about to learn what happened when someone threatened humanity's friends. The battle raged across the Zorathian system as the Indomitable fought against wave after wave of Vraxx ships. Captain Kim gripped his command chair as another enemy salvo hammered their shields. The bridge lights flickered, and sparks flew from. "Damaged control panels. Shield strength down to 60%, Chief Engineer Choi reported over the communication system. His voice was strained but determined. "I'm rerouting power from non-essential systems to keep us in the fight." Weapons Chief Yoon fired the plasma cannons in rapid sequence, destroying 2 more Vraxx fighters that had tried to attack from behind. The quantum torpedoes were running low, but each one that found its target eliminated an enemy ship completely. "Captain," Lieutenant Park called from her sensor station, "the Vraxx are changing their tactics. They're not attacking us directly anymore. They're trying to surround us and wear us down with long-range fire." Kim studied the tactical display and saw that she was right. The Vraxx had learned to respect the human Dreadnought's firepower. Instead of charging in close where the Indomitable's weapons were most deadly, they were staying at a distance and firing from multiple directions at once. It was a smart strategy, but it showed that the enemy was starting to fear them. That fear could be used as a weapon if Kim was clever enough. "Navigator, take us toward that group of damaged Vraxx ships near the moon," he ordered. "Make it look like we're retreating." Song Hayi Jin looked confused but followed orders. The Indomitable turned away from the main Vraxx fleet and headed toward a smaller group of enemy vessels that were trying to repair battle damage. The Vraxx took the bait. Thinking the human ship was trying to escape, dozens of enemy vessels broke formation and chased after them. They wanted to finish off the troublesome Dreadnought before it could get away. Now, Kim said quietly. The Indomitable suddenly spun around and unleashed everything it had at the pursuing Vraxx ships. Plasma beams and quantum torpedoes caught the enemy completely by surprise. In less than 30 seconds, 8 Vraxx vessels were destroyed, and 3 more were badly damaged. "That's how you turn a retreat into an ambush," Navigator Song said with a grin. But the victory came at a cost. While they had been destroying the pursuit force, other Vraxx ships had moved closer to the Zorathian homeworld. More of the crystal cities were going dark as the bombardment continued. "Captain," Communications Officer Kang announced, "I'm receiving a signal from the planet's surface. It's coming from one of the surviving cities." The main screen flickered and showed the face of a Zorathian civilian. The alien looked exhausted and terrified. Behind him, Kim could see the beautiful crystal buildings of his city, but many of them were cracked and broken. "Human ship, please help us," the Zorathian pleaded. "The Vraxx have landed troops in our city. They are capturing our people and loading them onto transport ships. They are taking them to be eaten." Kim felt cold anger fill his chest. The Vraxx were not content to just bombard the cities from space. They were landing soldiers to harvest the population like cattle. "Marine Commander Han, report to the bridge immediately," the captain ordered. Han Jiwoo arrived within minutes, still wearing his combat armor. "What do you need, Captain?" "The Vraxx are taking prisoners on the planet's surface. I need your Marines to go down there and stop them." Han nodded grimly. "My people are ready, sir, but we'll need the ship to get us close to the planet. Can you clear us a path through their orbital forces?" Kim looked at the tactical display. There were at least 40 Vraxx ships in orbit around the homeworld. Getting close enough to drop Marines would mean fighting through the heaviest concentration of enemy forces in the system. "Yoon, how many quantum torpedoes do we have left?" 12, Captain. Plus full charges on all plasma cannons. It would have to be enough. All hands, prepare for assault on the enemy orbital fleet. We're going to punch a hole through their formation and get our Marines to the surface." The Indomitable turned toward the Zorathian homeworld and accelerated to attack speed. The remaining Vraxx ships in the outer system tried to pursue, but the human Dreadnought was too fast. Within minutes, they were approaching the orbital battle zone. "Vraxx ships are moving to intercept," Park reported. "They're forming a defensive wall around the planet." The enemy formation was impressive. 40 warships arranged in overlapping fields of fire, with the largest vessels at the center, and smaller fighters on the flanks. It was designed to stop any attacking force from reaching the planet, but the Vraxx had never faced anything like the Indomitable. "Target their command ship," Kim ordered, "the big one in the center of their formation." Yoon locked on to the massive Vraxx battleship that was coordinating the orbital bombardment. It was twice the size of a normal enemy vessel, with enough firepower to destroy a moon. Firing quantum torpedoes. 4 of the experimental weapons streaked across space toward their target. The Vraxx command ship tried to intercept them with defensive fire, but the torpedoes were too fast and too small. They struck the enemy battleship in rapid sequence. The explosions were incredible. The Vraxx command ship broke apart in a chain of secondary blasts that lit up the entire orbital zone. Debris from the destroyed vessel damaged several nearby enemy ships. The Vraxx formation wavered as the remaining ships tried to reorganize without their commander. That moment of confusion was all the Indomitable needed. "Full speed ahead," Kim ordered. "Take us right through the center of their formation." The human Dreadnought charged into the heart of the enemy fleet like a spear thrust. Plasma cannons fired in all directions, destroying or damaging every Vraxx ship that got too close. The remaining quantum torpedoes cleared a path through the orbital defenses. "We're through," Navigator Song reported. "Clear approach to the planet. Surface! Launch marine assault ships," Kim ordered. Han and his 200 soldiers launched toward the planet in armored transports while the Indomitable fought off the pursuing Vraxx ships. The Marines had trained for years for missions like this, but they had never faced an enemy as dangerous as the Vraxx. "Captain," Dr. Nam Soo-jin called from her science station, "the ship's AI is detecting something unusual about the Vraxx fleet. Behavior. They're not just randomly attacking anymore. They're following complex tactical patterns that suggest a single controlling intelligence." Kim frowned. That was disturbing news. If the Vraxx had some kind of central command coordinating their entire fleet, it would be much harder to defeat them using surprise tactics. "Can you locate this controlling intelligence?" "Working on it, Captain. The AI is analyzing their movement patterns now. Meanwhile, the battle continued to rage around them. The Indomitable had destroyed over 30 Vraxx ships, but there were still more than 150 enemy vessels in the system. The human Dreadnought was taking heavy damage from the constant attacks. Shield strength down to 30%, Choi reported. Hull damage on decks 7 through 12. We're losing power to some weapon systems. Kim knew they could not keep this up much longer. The Indomitable was incredibly powerful, but it was still just one ship against an entire fleet. They needed to find the enemy's weakness and exploit it before their own defenses failed completely. Captain, Han's voice came over the communication. System from the planet's surface. We've landed successfully and are engaging Vraxx ground forces. We've already rescued 200 Zorathian prisoners, but there are thousands more being held in different locations. Do what you can, Commander. We'll keep the orbital forces busy. As the Indomitable continued its desperate battle against impossible odds, Kim wondered if they had bitten off more than they could chew. But then he remembered why they were here. The Zorathians were counting on them. Humanity's reputation as protectors of the innocent was at stake. They would keep fighting until the very end. The Indomitable shook violently as another wave of Vraxx energy beams struck their failing shields. Captain Kim could smell smoke in the air from damaged systems throughout the ship. They had been fighting for 3 hours straight, and the human Dreadnought was beginning to show the strain. Shield strength down to 15%, Chief Engineer Choi reported, his voice tight with exhaustion. I don't know how much longer we can take this punishment, Captain. Kim looked at the tactical display and saw that they had destroyed over 50 Vraxx ships, but more than 100 enemy vessels still surrounded them. The Indomitable had fought bravely, but the odds were simply too great. Captain, Dr. Nami, Sujin called from her science station. The AI has found something important. The Vraxx fleet is being controlled by a single massive ship hiding behind the system's largest moon. All their tactical orders are coming from there. Kim felt a spark of hope. If they could destroy the command ship, the rest of the Vraxx fleet might fall into confusion. But getting to the moon would mean fighting through the entire enemy formation. Show me, he ordered. The main screen displayed the hidden Vraxx command ship. It was enormous, at least 3 times the size of the Indomitable. The vessel bristled with weapons and was surrounded by a defensive fleet of 20 escort ships. That's their flagship, Kim realized. Vraxx Prime Gulthak himself must be aboard that monster. Lieutenant Park looked up from her sensors with worry in her eyes. Captain, that ship is too big and too well defended. Even if we could get close to it, our remaining weapons might not be enough to destroy it. Kim studied the tactical situation carefully. The Vraxx command ship was indeed heavily protected, but he noticed something interesting about its position. The massive vessel was hiding in the shadow of the moon, using the natural body as a shield against long-range attacks. Navigator, plot a course directly toward that moon. Maximum speed. Song Haya-jin looked confused. Sir, that will take us right through the heaviest concentration of enemy ships. That's exactly what I'm counting on, Kim replied with a grim smile. The Indomitable suddenly accelerated toward the moon, racing through the Vraxx formation at full speed. Enemy ships tried to intercept them, but the human Dreadnought was moving too fast to be caught. All remaining ships, pursue the human vessel, came a transmission from the Vraxx flagship. Do not let them escape. Kim smiled as he heard the enemy commander's panic. The Vraxx thought the humans were trying to run away. They had no idea what was really about to happen. As the Indomitable approached the moon, nearly the entire Vraxx fleet followed behind them. The enemy ships crowded together as they tried to catch the fleeing human vessel before it could escape, around the moon's far side. Captain, Marine Commander Han's voice came over the communication system from the planet's surface. My troops have rescued over 1,000 Zorathian prisoners, but the Vraxx are sending reinforcements. We need extraction, soon. Hold your position, Commander. We're about to end this war. The Indomitable raced around the moon and came face-to-face with the massive Vraxx flagship. The enemy command ship was indeed enormous, covered with weapon ports and shield generators. But Kim had noticed something that the Vraxx had not considered. Yoon, target the moon's surface directly above the enemy flagship. Fire all remaining quantum torpedoes. Weapons. Chief Yoon looked surprised, but followed orders. The last 8 quantum torpedoes streaked toward the moon's surface and detonated in a series of brilliant explosions. The impacts created a massive avalanche of rocks and debris that began falling toward the Vraxx command ship below. "What are the humans doing?" came a confused transmission from the enemy flagship. "They missed us completely." But Captain Kim had not missed at all. As tons of moon rock crashed down on the Vraxx command ship, its shields began to overload from the constant impacts. The enemy vessel tried to move out of the way, but it was too large and too slow. "Now, Yoon. All plasma cannons. Everything. We have left." The Indomitable unleashed its full remaining firepower at the Vraxx flagship. The plasma beams struck the enemy ship just as its shields failed under the weight of falling debris. The superheated energy tore through the command vessel's hull like a knife through paper. The massive Vraxx flagship exploded in a chain reaction that lit up the entire moon. The explosion was so powerful that it destroyed several of the escort ships and damaged many others. "The command ship is gone," Dr. Nam reported with amazement. "Vraxx Prime Gultak is dead." Without their leader and command ship, the Vraxx fleet fell into complete chaos. The enemy vessels that had been pursuing the Indomitable around the moon found themselves trapped between the human Dreadnought and the expanding debris field from their destroyed flagship. "This is Admiral Thisamar of the Zorathian Defense Fleet," came a new voice over the communication system. "We have just detected the arrival of the Earth Defense Force 2nd Fleet. Captain Kim, help is on the way." Kim looked at the long-range D sensors and saw dozens of human ships dropping out of hyperspace at the edge of the system. Earth Command had finally sent reinforcements, but they were no longer needed for the main battle. The surviving Vraxx ships, seeing the approaching human fleet and realizing their command structure was destroyed, began to retreat from the system. Some tried to take Zorathian prisoners with them, but the Indomitable and the newly arrived Earth ships hunted them down before they could escape. "Captain," Communications Officer Kang announced, "I'm receiving a transmission from Admiral Thisamar on the planet's surface." The main screen showed the Zorathian leader standing in what remained of his capital city. The beautiful crystal buildings were damaged, but not destroyed. In the background, Kim could see his Marines helping Zorathian civilians and loading rescued prisoners onto medical ships. "Captain Kim," the Zorathian admiral said with deep gratitude in his voice, "you and your crew have saved our entire civilization. We will never forget what humanity has done for us today. You came alone when we called for help, and you fought impossible odds to protect us." Kim stood up from his command chair and faced the screen. Around him, his exhausted but victorious crew watched as their captain replied, "Admiral, the Zorathians have been friends to humanity for many years. When friends are in trouble, humans always come to help. That's what we do." Over the next few hours, the combined human and Zorathian fleets rescued thousands of prisoners from damaged Vraxx ships and helped evacuate civilians from the most badly damaged cities. The Vraxx invasion force had been completely defeated, with over half their ships destroyed and the rest scattered across the galaxy. The battle became legendary throughout known space. The story of how a single human Dreadnought had held off an entire Vraxx invasion fleet spread to every civilized world. Other alien races began to understand why humanity had earned its reputation as the galaxy's most reliable defenders. The Indomitable returned to Earth for repairs and refit, but the crew knew their real reward was the knowledge that they had saved an entire civilization from extinction. Captain Kim received the highest military honors from both Earth and Zorathia, but he always said the real heroes were his crew members who had never wavered in the face of impossible odds. The Zorathians officially declared humanity to be their protectors and closest allies. They shared their advanced medical technology freely with human colonies and helped establish joint research stations throughout human space. And somewhere in the depths of space, the few surviving Vraxx ships carried word back to their home territories about the species that had destroyed their greatest invasion fleet. The message was simple and terrifying. Never attack the friends of humanity, because humans will always come to help, no matter what the cost. The Indomitable was repaired and sent out on new missions, ready to face whatever threats might emerge in the vast darkness between the stars. After all, that's what humans do best.